today, Akil, I don't know if you noticed or not. I don't know if any Star Wars fans out there. It's May the 4th today. May the 4th be with you. I don't know.
Mhm.
Are you a Trekkie or sorry, not Trekkie, Star
No,
Wars
a
fan?
little bit off.
Okay.
No, a little bit off. I follow a little bit, not
Yeah.
much of time as they wanted to. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, we record these and then it might not get released for several weeks. So by the
Yeah.
time someone watches this, but I just thought that was pretty cool. We're talking about technology, we're talking about the future, and it's May the 4th. So lots of force behind you. And we're
Yeah.
going to talk about some interesting things here today. So I have Akil Balachandran with me. And you are the founder and CEO of Bluemind App as well as Life Plan. Before we get into the business stuff, Akil, just wanted to just chat about interesting things in your life. I noticed you got some helicopters behind you. Tell us about the helicopters. It caught my eye as soon as we went on camera here. It's my first time seeing it.
It's an interesting part of. I love flying objects. When I was growing up, spent a lot of time learning about spaceships and how the spaceships are. When I'm growing up a little bit further on my physics classes, I'm trying to look at how the gravity out for the force to go out from the earth and stuff. So somehow I love traveling. And traveling is one of my favorite thing in the world. I think helicopters is one of the nicest thing that I kind of fascinated about. And the planes, fighter jets. I think the only time that when I look at the helicopter and I bought the bigger one, it started crashing a lot. So I bought a smaller one so I can practice the smaller one to go with the bigger one. So yeah, I came originally from Sri Lanka. It shouldn't be really a scary thing for me because there's a lot of civil war back home and the helicopters that go and shoot things. But I kind of looking at the different side of it's a science and also part of that fascination about the technology, the May 4th or Star Trek and different part of the things. I'm fascinated about somehow it's connected to the technology. I'm not a pilot. I don't drive. I don't fly helicopters at this point, but maybe down the road. You don't know.
Yeah, you never know, right? Hey, you know what? Us founders, it's important we have interests outside of the business. It's important we have a life outside of the business, and that doesn't consume all of you. And oftentimes, it's something that is completely unrelated. And nothing to do with what you do. I was going to say from 9 to 5, but none of us really work 9 to 5.
No.
From dusk,
what is that 9 to 5 mean?
from dusk till dawn. How about that? If what we do in the daylight hours, right? So
absolutely. Yeah.
And you know what? I really love your last name, Balachandran. It just kind of rolls off the tongue. So. Where are you right now, Akil? Are you in Ontario? Where's your office based?
Yeah, I'm in Markham, Ontario. Markham. If people don't know, the city is a little bit north of Toronto.
Yeah.
In Ontario, Canada. Yes. Yeah.
And we're getting through. I don't want to talk about the pandemic, but we're getting through a lockdown here. I'm in Ontario as well, and so.
Yeah.
You've been in the financial services space for a while. What about on the family side? What have you got going on at home? What are you dealing with at home? Any kids?
I have twin girls. Like they're 6 years old now.
Oh, twins.
It is. They're enjoying the virtual school. I was in the office and I just came back for this podcast to home. I told my wife they're going in virtual school and she's happy because we used to send them to private and now scaled down to keeping them in home. Right. And then she's happy that next year is going to be virtual as well. I think that for the announcement, but the kids, they understand. Especially we work late hours, midnight hours after they go to bed, trying to balance between work and feeding them and entertaining them and keeping balancing with them. And then we're trying to spend the time what they need. And then they understand sometimes, like we don't have time to speak to them. We're working on discussions. My wife is in the business. She's actually co-founder with Bluemind. She's working a lot of technology, and she's the one with Asana and managing the projects and working with the teams and working on the UI and some other areas. So there's a lot of work between us and between the tech teams. Our teams work on the weekends sometimes. So it's been sometimes challenging, but I think they understand it. I mean, the kids, they understand. I mean, the first daughter, the twins, but the first Anna, she born, like just a few minutes ago. When she got the teeth fall out, we put the money on the table, money on the bed under the toothberry. So she said, she took the money, and my wife, Meena, asked what she's going to do with the money. And she said, I'm going to invest in the Bluemind. So they are aware of the company and what we do.
It's so important.
So we're blessed to have them. Yeah, we're so blessed to have them. I think that's one of the things, talking about outside the work, what gives me energy and what's working for us is them. They understand. It's really blessed to have the kids. We had a tough time in the beginning. We had 3 miscarriages back to back. We got pregnant 7th week. The babies didn't survive through, and that's one of the reasons that we put hard as financial planning in the life plan. The first business that we started, we have heart as a logo because of the 7th week. The heart is created, and then whole body is actually created when the heart start pumping the blood. And we wanted to look at the financial planning is planning is more important. So that's where the whole life plan investments heart comes in. Anyway, that's another story for another day. But yeah, we're blessed to have them right now.
You know what? So as a father of 4, I'll agree with you on that statement. And children certainly are a blessing. And it's great to talk about children. I feel talk about family and business. For a lot of us, that's what gives us purpose. It's important, right? It's important we keep that in perspective.
Absolutely.
I love what you just shared about life plan. I said this to someone in another interview who was in the life and health space, that in the insurance industry, people that come from the life and health space always seem to have a personal reason why they got into the business, or there's a personal reason, there's a purpose that drives them to stay in the business. And it has something to do with an experience, something that happened to them in their life. And, that's a very, personal story you just shared around how you named your first company, Life Plan, which, thank you for sharing that. That's very inspirational.
No, absolutely.
One of my companies is named after my children as well. It spells out their initials, but, we're here to talk about you today. So Life Plan was something you've done. You've been in the insurance industry how many years now? Have you?
Almost 15 years. 15 years now. Yeah.
And then Life Plan was about 3.5 years ago or so that you started that. Is that right?
It's almost 3 years now. We just celebrate anniversary 3 years, but the one I really started working is 3.5 years, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you've been in the life and health industry 15 years or so. You started Life Plan 3 years ago. Today we're going to talk mostly about Bluemind App, but I want to hand it over to you to talk about your origin story in your words. How did you come up with the concept of Bluemind App? How did it come to be? How did you name it? The microphone's
okay. Okay. No, I think I want to start where it's originally by how I come into this. I originally went to medical school. I went to school in Russia, actually, and started medicine, want to become a surgeon. And that's my kind of path. Like I studied physics, chemistry, psychology, biology, all the chemical and biological anatomy, all the science subjects. Completely changed when I came to Canada, and I went to Centennial, Rice, and fast tracked my programs. And during my last year, I sponsored my parents from Sri Lanka because my father had a business in Sri Lanka, south of Sri Lanka, and he was affected with the tsunami in 2004, believe. And so then I sponsored them. Then I had to find a full-time job. So I've always been fascinated about, I mean, not really fascinated about money, but always careful about money management.
Yeah.
So that took me to the industry. But when I wanted to get into the industry, I mean, at that time when I was in Rice in 2004, I had to really look at Wikipedia and Yahoo Finance to understand the terms. I had no idea about the business industry, even though I took business management and finance at Ryerson, but it doesn't really give me something. But I spend more time on digging into understanding what it works and how it works. So, and then from medical background and the brain is somehow, I'm trying to make it simplified or make it easier for the practice that what I did. So one thing I found is the industry was misrepresented very, very much. I mean, insurance industry itself. So, but I saw the importance of what is placed in people's life, either life and health or P&C side, all of them. This is actually a big part of people's life. And I see that where the misalignment, the trust factor, or the people is not taking it the right way or make more complicated. So when I build an advisor role, I always trying to find better way, easy way to do things. So I created systems for myself. So when I move into advisor to manager, I was working in one of the largest financial center in Sun Life. So there's the use Navi plan as part of the financial planning tool. It wasn't really gone well. I mean, they were at the bottom of the whole user space because it's an advisor using different methods. So I look at head office spending a lot of time on teaching them, training them. But I found that I go and re-engineering the thing and I try to find out what is really for them and how can I make it easy. And then I make them number one in the country compared to except the Quebec because that's mandatory part. And I moved to, with the rotation leadership, I moved to different office and I, again, make them number one in the country, another office in Richmond here. So when I look at it, I work over 500-600 advisors individually and trying to work around. It's for me, I never look at it as a result. I want to change the advisor practice. So when I get to the point of, I think, life-changing movement in 2017, coming back from Montreal, I love the organizations. But the main difficult part for me is I could not able to do what I want to do, especially what I was observing what happening on the back home in the south of the border in US, the robo platforms and technology taking over some of that part. And here in home country, we have some robo platforms came in. So I want to make sure that there's something need to be really addressing, not just pushing one company product, rather really have clients to choose the best option for them. And the technology should be able to help advisors. So that's kind of in my mind. But I started when I resigned my 2017 corporate role, which I'm making really good income and the pension and all kind of things. People thought I'm crazy. And I see that what's happening. So yeah, leap of faith. And as I mentioned, kids in the private school and expenses, all that's leaving on the side and say, you know what, I'm burning all my boats, I'm going 100% in. That scared me. So what I did is I resigned the job in February. I worked with the developers in we're Canadian based, but they have some people in India as well. So we launched My Life Plan mobile app and we launched a virtual financial planner. I checked with FPSC at that time, FP Canada. So I asked them, is there any virtual financial planner in Canada? They said no. And then we started virtual financial planner, but it didn't go well because we didn't market it. I want to test the water. I think the My Life Plan mobile app is create a transparency, create things. When we hired advisors in Life Plan, so they saw that it's helping them well with having a conversation with the millennial clients on the phone rather than open a computer and talk to them. So certain things is helping us. So we observing and I'm testing the market. And we actually, in 2019, October, we said enough of enough, we want to create our own systems. So we use legacy systems in Sunlight and Salesforce, and then try to customize the cup, so to try to use it according to what it is. And for that journey, we trying to look at every CRM solutions in Canada and US to see what is going to fit for us. to manage MGA business end to end. Like either create a transparency for the advisors and create easy for not to use 10 different softwares to integrate, but rather make easier for us. Part of the journey that we decided in 2019, enough of enough, we'll create our own. So we have hired internal developers. We don't want to take to offshore. We want to keep it in Canadian, in Kia. And so we bring a couple of full stack developer, infrastructure architect. We start building it from the day one. So in 2020, we launched it for LifePlan. It's called LifePlan AI. The reason for that product is end-to-end solution for the advisors to manage from the lead to castle, consents, and all the documentation, everything in one place. Right. And then what I wanted to do is as well, we want to manage from the agency perspective. When we're recruiting advisors, we want to know where they are at, monitor them, and when they onboarded, to manage them as a client. Because as an NGO brokerages, our advisors are the clients. For the clients, their clients is a client. So then we want to kind of manage both end, because it's all in one holistic part, right? Yeah. So then we build that, but when we built it in January 2020, we were really happy. But we just built it for internally. We didn't really worry about too much on UI or anything. Yeah. So we built it custom solution for us. And again, in March 16, 17, everything locked down. So we completely shut down. And we had angel investors and some people wanted interest in that product, but we did develop. We kind of keep it on the side because we want to say, you know what, we just wait a little bit longer. And when we locked down, when we in the quarantine or lockdown mode, we started saying, you know what, the insurance company, the 80-page application become electronic application. Some are good, bad, ugly. They created something and they created electronic signatures. Some worked, some didn't work. Yeah. But the funny part is I realized, I remember, I don't want to mention the company name. They said, oh, you send the PDF form to the client and the client print out 80-page document and sign. This is impossible. We are in 2021, like 2020 at the time. So for me, it's, again, we have a choice of dealing with which insurance company we want. So we go with the one who's good in technology and good for the clients. And then, so we look at this and then insurance company quickly pivoted and get this done. But what happened, all other things, that compliance part, like again, castle form, advisor disclosure, we still have to send it and client had to sign and you had to document it that you send it to them. Because as part of my role in management part, I working audit, trade supervision, compliance part, advisor visits, audit. So I understand the compliance things. So I see that this is really going to be a big hassle for generally all the advisors. And then the reason why letter. Not very many people even not know what they're doing, the reason why letters. And again, FNAs, all the parts, how they're going to be using. Beyond that, I'm looking at how, they have one laptop and they're using that for the same shopping, social media, and doing everything else in the world. And I found funny thing is some advisors, they're very good. They're actually keeping things in the cloud. But others, they're creative folders and putting that client information in the folders. You're creating a huge cyber liability for your clients and for yourself and practice. Yeah. On the desktop. So then you're going all the place and putting a cyber footprint in all of the places, which open up for all the cyber attacks. And then, nobody can prevent cyber attacks. We can do as much as we can do to, avoid it or minimize it, but you don't want to just open up the invite to, hackers to come and
you don't want to be an easy target.
So, easy target. So then, and I really care about, because we have at the financial industry, we're dealing with way more personal information and data of clients. So we don't want to be using them. And some of the softwares, when we look at it, they're US based and they have a Patriotic Act and everything. It doesn't really in a bad way, but I'm talking about as a Canadian landscape, right? Or European landscape rather there. So yeah, it's all that part is came in. So we were thinking about, should we keep it secret, that software that we build, or should we go and to public, or should we commercialize it?
Yeah.
So, I just go back to my spiritual life or whatever. I think I didn't start this to just make money. I think we want to make a difference. We have a real big purpose why we're doing this. And then go back and look at it. How much advice I'm going to have it with the life plan? Maybe 1,000, maybe in 5 years, or 10 years. But I have some product that actually going to help people. A lot of people going through a stress, and people have a difficulty even handling Zoom. So I said, why don't I actually give it to customize it and give it to all the advisors, so then they can actually use it. So that's a whole story we want to give them. So give it to customize it to go to market.
Right.
So we are in Canadian space, and we're also looking at working in south of Canada. Like we have a firms in California that we're working with, a large number of advisor group, and we're looking at South American market.
That's awesome.
I know I took a long, but I will tell you one quick thing about the name, how the name comes through.
Yeah.
I mean, we look at what, one of the things I don't want to be doing is, I don't want to keep things in my mind. I mean, I keep a lot of things in my mind. As a founders, probably a lot of us do. Yeah. All the to-do list and all the things in mind. So that actually disables us, and we cannot able to do well with the family or well with the friends or who are we going. Because when things are so many things in mind, so we don't perform as we supposed to be. So what I thought is, when the technology is there, we can actually download the hard work to technology, what technology is good at. So then that's the whole idea of, we think of how can I make that, get the right name. So we look at dolphin is part of smart animal or mammal in the industry. So that's where dolphin came in. The Bluemind is because I like the blue ocean strategy.
Yes.
And I have, we were talking to my kids and in the sofa and in the quarantine time again. So we're talking about the name. So we kind of brainstorm, and then we go back always why we started, why we doing this. So then we want to create that peace of mind for the advisors. So then that way, the peace that they can actually focus with the client rather than paperwork, rather than compliance, rather than documentation, rather than managing the technology. So we want to create a peace. So when it's come to peace, then the blue comes in. So that's how the Bluemind comes in.
So you're removing, and it's spring here. So I'm thinking of spring cleaning, but you're removing the clutter in the mind, helping them to download that and organize it, and freeing them up to have a blue sky, blue ocean type mind where creative thoughts can flow and they can focus and be present. I like the meaning behind that, Akil. That's very, it's got a lot of depth to it. So are you?
Thank you.
And it's a really neat story. Are you targeting individual advisors? So if I'm an independent MGA or AGA, or I'm working maybe at a career house like a large financial institution, but I'm selling direct, is this for anybody? Like, are you targeting advisors specifically, or are you is your distribution strategy to go through carriers, brokers, MGAs, or is it both?
Okay, so that's a great question, John, and I'll tell you a quick story based on my experience. What happened? I saw the problem, like companies like larger career shops, they spend tons of millions of dollars. One company spent $11 million on a particular software, and the advisors are not putting that information in the software. One, A, is complicated. B, that they don't want to really head office see all the things what they do. And some of the things they know that company own the client, but they don't want to put all the data there.
Right.
And which is actually completely not useful for what the CRM is designed. And then most of the time I see that nothing wrong with the tech companies, but most of the time the tech people creating in a head office level things for the advisors who work in. I mean, you and me, we work with ICE advisors, clients actually, both eyeball to eyeball. We work in the kitchen table, we work in the boardrooms. We know that what exactly clients. So what we did is we reverse engineer the whole aspect. So what we want to do is we focus on how can we help individual advisors on the advisor level in terms of going through, I mentioned from lead, capturing the lead, carefully putting that leads, because how many advisors putting hundreds of spreadsheets and they losing the lead, and every single lead is important. And then we make it so easy and simple. So our software is actually, Bluemind is really designed for individual advisors to empower them to do the work that they do an easy and simple and fast way. So then automatically things are done. But our distribution strategy is that's opposite way. We're looking at 80%, 70-80% of MGAs, AGAs, and then insurance company carrier shops that who has a difficulty of using this millions of dollars, but they don't get revenue. But what we do is we disconnect them between advisors and them. So we giving the power to the advisors. Advisor can decide when they want to share with them. They can share every detail from from email consent, anything to clients directly. Same thing, they can actually let the companies do it. So what we did is we built some AI mechanism on the behind. So we have data feeds coming from insurance company. One insurance company we able to successfully doing, we continue working on other companies. So the data feed is we collect the right information for the MGAs to show them what they need to see. And with some algorithms and the formulas that we created to show them that how actually that's going to proactively manage the MGA business. So it's really value added for the MGA piece, but mainly for the advisors, we just focusing on their business. They don't have to be compromised their information with the MGA. They don't need to share it. They don't want to be shared. But when the MGA is actually involved, they actually can able to get data fit. So they will eliminate the whole manual entry of all the clients' information, enforce clients or the new applications. So we can able to get everything every day, like from the data feed. So that's a huge advantage. So targeting MGAs and the independent advisors. Yeah.
Do you see that creating any friction between the MGAs and the advisors? Because I think you're touching on a point that maybe people don't want to talk about or acknowledge, but I agree with what you just said. A lot of advisors are reluctant to put that information in for various reasons. And even when you try to convince them why it's a good idea, they want to keep that information close. So now you're giving them a tool that allows them to still keep the information close and organized. And if I'm understanding correctly, you're giving them the choice. The advisor has the choice whether or not to share that information up with their MGA that they're working under, or their broker, or if it's a career shop. Does that, so who owns the license then, Akil? Is the license owned by the advisor? Do they pay for the subscription?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into that because for the advisors watching, I think this is a great tool. For the advisors that are watching, and they're sitting down going, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe this exists." You mean I don't have to track this stuff manually anymore in a spreadsheet? I can have it on my desktop. It's my choice who I want to share it with. How would an advisor go about finding Bluemind and connecting with Bluemind? I'm jumping forward a little bit here, but I think it's interesting. We're at this point of the conversation, the discussion, because what I always like to do around this stage of the discussion is help people understand what problem you're solving. And it sounds to me like you're speaking directly to advisors, which I think carriers should pay attention to. Brokers and MGAs who employ advisors, because at the end of the day, if the advisor is satisfied and productive and has the right tools to do their job effectively, everyone should win at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So how do advisors get on board? Do they have to have permission from their employer, or do they?
I think this is a great tool, a great question. Jonah, I'll touch on that, and I'll go back to the original question you have, the issue or dilemma on the issue. So first of all, the Bluemind.app, Bluemind.app. Anybody can go in and sign up for free trial. We give you 30-day free trial, and then we give you 90 days money back guarantee, because we want to make sure that comfortably you try and practice that platform, and then comfortably do that. So advisors don't need to get any permissions. It's a Canadian based and it's saved in Canadian data centers and Google backend cloud. And then they can have their autonomy. Who owns the data is advisor own the data. Whenever that they said, you know what, I don't like it, I want to move, they can take the data with them. Bluemind is not in any financial service business. It's a completely pure technology company. So we help advisors to manage the business from the lead, managing the leads, to move them to prospect, taking notes, cancel, advisor disclosure, documentations, putting all the information, all that they can do it without any problem. And then they can actually share that every single data. That's very important, because you have a meeting with a client and everybody, what they do is send an email if they do. But what happened here, you put the notes, you click a one button, it's shared with the client right away by a client portal. We planning so many other things to make advisor life easier. So most of our users currently, we have around 40 plus users currently using it and growing every day. Before launch, we haven't launched it officially yet to the market, but we have beta users currently. So they say, oh, I don't need a training for this. It's very easy, and I don't need to buy planning software, too many things. I can actually use it one tool and able to help. So that it's really designed for the advisors. The advisor, only time when they have MGA involved, they can able to get data fit coming to them directly to their platform. The challenge, what we talked about before, advisors don't want to be using the MGA's platform, or they don't want to using company's platform on CRMs, because traditionally what happened in the brokerage world, what I get to know, that's why the CLHA is coming. They say one primary MGA, because advisors have 10 different MGAs or 3-4 different MGAs to deal with.
Sure.
So, and how they're going to be showing that to different people, right? So, and technically, if the compliance audit comes, their files, like if they have a business with Sun Life, the Manulife file, Manulife is doing the auditing. Manulife doesn't need to see what Sun Life is doing, right? Sun Life clients, their policies they have. So it's kind of a really in a difficult situation for the advisor. That's why we want to create complete independent for the advisors. Being in a career shop and being in a compliance role and running my own MGA before, before I get into the Bluemind. I think one of the nightmare or challenge we have is chargeback, how to manage chargebacks, how to manage business compliance-wise. And if you ask the compliance officers in the insurance company, they would think, you know what, every file, you need to see the FNAs, you need to see the new notes, you need to see this. I mean, that's could be possible like 10 years ago when everything is paper. Now with the technology, with the e-app and non-face-to-face app, how are you going to monitor all the people? I mean, we're dealing with the challenges. The insurance company is no need to give for the data. They're not data enabling machines. They have a data, they don't know how to handle it. So for us, we find a lot of challenges to explain to them, get the data from them in order to clean the data and give it to the advisors or the MGAs. So the challenge that I see, the bigger problem is the MGAs, their bigger concern is the risk management and the compliance, making sure the advisor being compliant, making sure they're managing the risk. As a humanly, it's impossible when you have a 10,000 advisors MGA to understand what exactly happening on your business. It's all proactively chasing after the chargebacks. So what we did is we built that compliance AI mechanism. It's more of a reinforced learning. So we build algorithms that when the data fit comes in and with our behavioral analysis, we can able to proactively actually see whether business is good, bad, or something to watch out. So based on the algorithms that we build in, based on the data fit coming. For MGAs, really doesn't need to see all the information, what the notes the advisor is putting. But they don't have to peek the eyes or nose there to really see what's happening in the advisor profile. As long as advisor doing things and they know that the advisor has documentation, they can easily satisfy the needs, checking, okay, notes is there, FNA is there, notes KYC is there, KYP's documentation is there. At least they will able to satisfy their part. So that's why we're trying to work on the strength of what exactly they need. Advisor need privacy. They want to make it things done easily, and they want to secure for issue, and they don't need to be learning how to manage. Whereas on the insurance company side or the MGA side, they want to manage the risk and proactively be helping them to manage the risk by using some AI and deep learning mechanisms.
Very cool. So
Yeah. So did I answer your question?
oh yeah, no, it more than answered my question, and I think it leads me to another discussion point. Is with your compliance AI tool, is it does it know the different compliance requirements that are carrier based or company based? So you have your regulatory requirements for acknowledgement, privacy, disclosure, etc. But if
Yeah.
I'm submitting an application to a particular company and that carrier has different compliance criteria than another one, does the system learn those things as well so that I can meet all those requirements based on who I'm submitting to?
Yeah, I think right now this is generic approach, John, because we
Generic, yeah.
didn't
Okay.
go that deeper level. I mean, with the machine learning, that's one thing about technology. Once you build the right data sets, it can learn. The reinforcement learning is going to happen.
Yes.
That's going to be helping us. And the beginning stage, we keeping. But generally, but I break it down the two different compliance side. One is industry compliance. You have to have AML, privacy, all the compliance notes, and documentation, the part. And then another part is individual advisor compliance for the cases, like a CASL, advisor disclosure, client engagement, FNAs, and notes, and the reason why letter. So that's generally for all the carriers. So we keep it that as a checklist for them to really see it.
Okay.
And then the most important part is really looking at the cases to understand what the cases are coming through.
That's fair. Okay. And so, and if to close on this point, if you had to, in one sentence, say why is Bluemind App valuable to me as an advisor? What problem does it solve for me as an advisor? If I'm, the thousands of advisors that are out there listening in Canada and abroad, what problem do you solve that would incentivize me or compel me to go to your site and sign up for a subscription?
Okay. I think the time is the most. I'll tell you. Like few other things, I'm trying to look at what is the right one to say. The time is the most, the most important commodity or the important asset than anything else, even more than money. I think what our advisors, they're saying, normally before the Bluemind, they spend at least 2 hours on compliance work on each file.
Wow.
And this one actually make 20, it's cut down significantly. They spend less than 20 minutes when they're using the right process, because you don't lose any data from the lead to become a client. And all the tools is there. So you don't have to, and it'll cut the cost. You don't need to have, I'm not going to put anybody's step on anybody's toe, but there's multiple softwares people use to manage the business. You don't need that for 80% of the clients, because you can actually, all of them are built in for a cost. We look at the cost, they significantly, if you had to have that particular tool, you would be paying $300-400 a month, which will bring it down to $50 a month. Okay. Huge, significant saving for people.
Yeah.
And then the most important thing is peace of mind. Like they know that they don't have to rethink every time. It's been easy to get things done.
Okay. That's
just great. An example, like reason why letter. The reason why letter. I think I'll tell you one message which is extremely important for advisors. When it comes to compliance audits, most of the time when I'm dealing with MFTA or the insurance side, one thing they look at is not, did you give the advisor disclosure, or did you give the FNA to the client? Okay, do you document that you give that documentation to the client, right? So you need to have an evidence of showing that, you give that reason why letter. I think that's one problem, is we solving it in a just a click of a button. You share that, you have a record here showing that you show that, send it, what time and when and how do you send it? That's a bigger, because we're looking at advisors, younger advisors, they have a 20, 30 years runway. We want to bulletproof their business practice by using the right practice.
So you've automated some of the more mundane steps in the process and allow the system to take over, so you can empower advisors from prospect to policy, so they can do everything in one system essentially. And I would say cutting processing time in general, because that's non-value add as far as the client is concerned, like they don't care that you have 2 hours of forms to complete, and it is a distraction. And it sounds to me like it enables the advisor to focus more on the customer, on the policyholder in front of them. So that's
Exactly.
great. That's great, Akil.
So I want to tell you one quick thing, John, I mean, just on one example.
Yeah.
The reason why that is, one of the things is advice spend at least 20, 30 minutes normally writing emails. Not everybody is good in writing emails and sending paragraph or explaining them. Even though there's templates there, they spend more time. So if the advisor do the FNA, one click, within a few seconds, you will see within a nanosecond, you see the reason why letter is populated template. So you just only put less than a minute, you can send the reason why letter to the client.
Wow.
Compared to spending 20 minutes for the clients.
Yeah. Well,
and then one scary thing I want to say that, John, is I don't know if you see that FSRA report and the compliance report. 41% of the advisors are failing on compliance before the COVID. What happened after the COVID is going to be? How they're documenting, demand is increased. Advisors are back to back on Zoom meetings. How actually they're managing the data and the client's compliance? Yeah,
it's going to fall through the cracks. There has to be a system for that. And if you can reduce the amount of time someone is spending creating emails every day, I think that's well worth investigating the solution right there. To shift forward a little bit here, you mentioned Bluemind is, I guess, in the stage of user testing right now. You've got about 40 users out there. What stage is the company at? Because you've got an MVP product out there, you have in-house developers. It's been designed and developed in Canada. What stage are you at with respect to fundraising? Are you trying to get support to bring this to the market to scale? Are you trying to raise seed money? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are I'm bootstrapping the company. That's one thing. So we initial investments, like most of the founders, like we roll the monies, squeeze the money from different sources to put that in to get things going, because we want to make sure that your daughter's piggy bank.
Sorry.
The piggy bank too. Yeah. So we want to. I think it's a interesting conversation, because medical to the finance and now tech company. And I did some C++. I have some tech background, but I mean, really, I would look at it as a complete fresh perspective. It's really difficult for them understanding the fundraising, seed and A raising, what's that going in, and mentorship. So there's so many different schools of thoughts out there in the market and out there. And some people take advantage of what you are, in a sense, or unfamiliarity of this. So I'm glad that we are a good team. So what we decided to do is we will definitely go for raising. So we will do a seed fundraising down the road. But right now is more of seed funding is coming through my own investments. And we were working with BDC to working on the technology sector to some debt fundraising to get things go to the next level. Our thoughts is we want to bring the value, because we want to build a sustainable company. We don't want to keep raising money. The school of thought is once you raise seed and you focus on A raising, and A raising is after B raising. I don't want to chasing after. I rather focus on the solution for the problem, for the solving problem for the people, than raising the money. So so that's part is what I want to do is when we go for A raising or seed fund, which is I'm doing in debt funding a little bit, or to get things moving next level. We will do the raise money to bring right people into the platform, and also scaling up to the larger scale, because I want to create another Canadian story that actually impact in the globally, because we already talking to South America. We are working with the largest firm, 10,000 advisors in California. So we already in that space there. We know that revenue will come. But I think raising money is really bringing the right partnership for our organization and completely not disrupt the whole industry, but rather we want to create a future of financial planning, future of them to do things. So that's what we're doing when we're looking at raising funds or bringing right people into the platform. And
Akil, I always like to
I would say in 12 months, we were doing in 12 months, I'm expecting to go and raising a series fundraising in next 12 months. Fantastic. Like that's everything goes in the right way.
Well, while we're profiling you, I always like to give founders an opportunity to announce those intentions and to talk about that. If they want to have those conversations, you never know who's watching our podcast. We are gaining viewership by the week, and we're having conversations with the investor community, the accelerators of the world. But it's an important point. It's an important point you mentioned, though. You said a couple of things, and earlier you talked about burning your boats, which I love that saying, burning the ships, you're all in. The other part about, you burn the ships and it's like, we're here to stay. This is where our focus is. And, it's a great metaphor for fully committing to a cause. But on top of that, you're bootstrapping. And I think that can be a very freeing experience, even though it can be a very trepidatious and fearful experience for a lot of founders. But you don't have to worry about some investment partner now, venture fund, staring over your shoulder and managing every move that you make and every KPI, because sometimes that can become a big distraction for the company. And there are, I think, a lot of startups that go into fundraising too soon, too early. And it's almost maybe a temptation. This is just my opinion, but some, I think it's a badge of honor, or it's a headline they're chasing after. And the purpose of the company, and another founder said this to me recently, should never be about raising funds. It should be about the problem you set out to solve in the market. And, if you come to a place where, you have enough recurring revenue, you may not have to raise funds to take the company to the next level. And I'm glad you mentioned the last thing I'll say about that, and because I can tell you want to say some stuff, is BDC. You mentioned BDC. That's a great place for a lot of founders to go in Canada, because the financing programs are great. The interest rates are low, especially right now in the environment that we're in. And there are other programs in Canada like shred financing and other subsidies that, and you know what, Akil, I've been talking about this to a few different people I've interviewed. I'll probably do a segment just on that, where I either bring in an expert or bring in founders who have gone through shred financing. I've been through the process myself with another company. And there's a lot of things out there, but I think, people, if they come in and they have a good idea, maybe they don't have a tech background, or they've never worked closely with developers, they might not know these programs exist. So I guess, in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say is there's more than one way to skin a cat. You don't have to go straight to, private fundraising or venture capital or private equity, or even the, traditional institutional route. There are other ways that you can go. And sometimes even just a subsidy program like Shred might be enough capital to get you into from MVP or from proof of concept to MVP, or to the next stage where you need to go into enhancements. So it sounds like you got some experience in that realm as well, Akil? No,
I think that's absolutely true. I observed that whole startup ecosystem, and they are the whole while. I was in the part of a fintech expo in Singapore, trying to network with people, and build summit in Europe. I'm trying to explore where things are. Like, I always trying to scale, look at, observe, and what's happening. I found, unfortunately, there's some great talent, but they misleaded raising funds and finding co-founders. And I think you shouldn't be start in the place where you don't understand what the problem you're trying to solve. I think I like about that's what you asked me, what the problem we're trying to solve. If you're not trying to solve a problem, if you're trying to chasing a headline, chasing some sort of hype and then raise funds and exit from there, I think we shouldn't be doing. I think it's every single penny. I'm in the financial planning side. Money is a hard-earned money for somebody. I think we shouldn't be misusing the money because somebody's giving money and throw it in SEO, throw it in ads. No, you have to really understand that what problem you're solving, who you're solving to, how can you get there and solve it for them, right? I think, and once you have the right things, I believe you will going to attract the right people. I believe in law of attraction, attracting. That's what we connected to each other.
Absolutely.
I think you do the right thing. The karma is a big thing because the COVID teaches one thing. I think world people. It's almost we lost more than 1 million people in the whole world, right? I mean, we don't know up to how long it's going to be. Don't going to be taking that part, but I mean, we don't know. That's money cannot save people, or the pride cannot save, title cannot save people. I think my always thinking is that's why I left corporate role. It's a one life I have. I want to impact. I don't need like $1 million to live every year. Yeah. I'm okay to live 200, 300,000, which is I was making before. I think leaving that money and start this is make an impact, make an impact for the whole society. I think for us, that's what we really cautious about what we want. Sometimes, temptation come. Okay, I'm going to go raise money. I'm going to go and raise things. Sure. And I have, because I have some connections, but I try to scale it down, focus on let's solve the problem for the people that we serve. And let either the itself is taking care of the finance. If not, we need to raise money. We're going to have a reason for why we need to raise money and what we're going to do with the next raise.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's if you do that for the people. If you do that for that will really help for a lot of founders. And we have a big subsidy. I've been part of Community Tech Accelerator there. There's so much things going on, and then Google, part of the Google Founders Group on some of the things. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. You can take advantage. I think that's really important. I think you're doing a great job with InsurTech Canada to spotlighting the right founders and then giving that information to the right people. I think that's a great thing, Well, thank you for doing that.
It's actually my pleasure because I get to sit down with smart people like you and hear about new and interesting things. There's always so much going on in the ecosystem. And, it's really impossible to feature everyone who's doing everything out there. I could do one of these every single day and still just be scratching the surface. But, I like the message of what you're saying. It resonates with me. Have it be more about the cause than the cash. And if the company is cause oriented, the cash will come. So keep that focus on what is your purpose and why do you exist. Let's shift gears a little bit, kind of rounding third base here. What's been your biggest challenge since you started Bluemind? Bluemind specifically, what's been the biggest obstacle you faced as a founder, would you say?
I would say that definitely, even though I'm bootstrapping, the finance is one other thing, and finding the right talent. I'm blessed to have a good talent, but I want to increase the talent pool to get things working, which is very hard. And I don't want to be outsourced. I mean, nothing wrong with outsourcing to other countries, because we're dealing with the client's data and we want to keep it close to our home. Sure. And to find talents and then managing them, I think that's another bigger obstacle. We want to, because when you're in a startup and when you're in the startup mode, everybody, we find the right people. That's one crazy thing. And then when you find the right people, we become more closer, friendly with them because we kind of working closely with them. It's not like corporate world. And then now project managing them and development managing and troubleshooting. So, and then they have their own life situations, which is our tech people or the people that we work with. They go through their own personal challenges because of the COVID. I think we have to be human first than a corporate CEOs or founders and say, we get them, otherwise I'm going to fire you and bring. No, we can't really do that. So it's really, that's a challenging part, managing that, the family, managing that part. I would say, I think that's the biggest challenge that we have, the resources, even though we are resourceful, but resources and managing the people, because you want to be human first. That's the challenge, bigger challenge for us.
And you know what's interesting about that, Akil, is there's a lot of, sorry, did you have another thought?
No, I think the other bigger challenge is the companies, insurance companies, unfortunately, when we focusing on the insurance advisors and the data feed, they're not ready for most of the stuff what we wanted to do for helping their clients, their advisors, their clients.
Right.
If they're willing to open up, and actually there's a lot can be done in a proper and secure way to help them and help their advisors and help their clients. Yeah.
Well, we have to do things differently. Like this industry, I sometimes I feel like I'm criticizing my own family because I've been, but I've been in the industry 20 years myself, so I think I've earned the right to be a little bit critical. I'm also part of the problem. If I've been around 20 years, I've been in leadership roles myself too. I've never actually been the CEO of an insurance company, but there's a lot of deeply embedded practices in this industry that in some cases are hundreds of years old. But there's a reason why InsurTech is so hot right now, because we're the last industry to innovate. So that is not something to be proud of. It's good that we're here. I'm a very optimistic person. So it's good we're here and that we're advancing and we're finally embracing it. But there's still a lot of pushing the rope uphill, pushing the elephant uphill.
Yeah.
And we need to do things differently. And there's two things I wanted to touch on that are relevant to what you said about people. We're not going to attract the talent, the next generation into this industry if we don't change those things. This has to be an industry that looks attractive from the outside. That's the second piece, right? And create an awareness that InsurTech is a thing. It's a big thing that is data rich, and we are desperate. We need innovation, and not just tech innovation. We need innovation in general, innovative thinking in this industry to advance it forward. And we have to embrace new ways of thinking and new ways of doing things. So, even what you're doing with advisors and focusing on giving just advisors tools, some people might see that and say it's a little disruptive. I think that's a great thing, because someone else that I talked to who's been in the insurance industry longer than I've been, close to probably 40 years, said to me recently, and it really resonated with me, the insurance industry responds to two things that cause it to change. Number one is regulatory, rules that are actually managed. When regulation changes, insurance industry moves. The second thing is disruption. Right. And a lot of people are using fluffy talk and saying innovation, evolution, not disruption. And I actually think it's a cycle. And I think every now and then you need a little bit of disruption to kickstart innovation, and then you evolve. And then everyone gets a little complacent and comfortable again, and they go back to their comfort zones, and then they need another little disruptive push. And I think that cycle needs to be going to keep the industry moving forward. And that's just, that was my soapbox moment.
No, I absolutely agree with you, John. I absolutely agree with you. I see that exactly what it is. Is it going to cost money? Is it going to disrupt me? And they kind of, everybody's talking about digitalization, but they're not really interested, or they're not taking that to the next level. That's one of the reasons that I even quit before. I mean, some of the, again, not to put anybody under the bus. I mean, some of them they look at Excel micros and some of the part they're excited about it. I mean, the world has gone with AI, data, machine learning, reinforcement learning, and so much things that we can do with the data, clean up the data and using for the companies, using for the advisors, and make clients' life, end user client life easier in terms of everything from application to processing to the clients and servicing. There's so much we can do, but we are not moving it. That's my real big frustration. That's like you share, really.
Well, and
we should change it. We should bring the talents inside.
I don't know, Akil, if it's going to take a very disruptive event like a tech company coming in. We're seeing that already in the automotive space. Companies like Tesla are disrupting the traditional manufacturers. And they're also getting into insurance. Google, Amazon, they're getting into insurance. And so it might take something like that. You don't see in Canada, unfortunately, a lot of new insurance companies starting up. You might see some foreign entrants from the UK and the United States typically. But who knows? It's anybody's guess. But it's definitely ripe for disruption and change, and I think it's a good thing. Closing thoughts, Akil. What do you want Bluemind to be known for when advisors think of Bluemind? What's like the thing you want your customers? This is a better way to say it. What do you want your customers to say about Bluemind? Not tech talk, but what do you want the customer, the advisor, to say when they hear Bluemind?
I think when they hear the Bluemind, I want them to think smart and think blue. That's one of the slogan that we keep.
Love it.
I want them to see peace of mind. I want to take a deep breath. You know what? Okay, I have it there. I don't have to worry about it. Yeah. Take away the worries of their day-to-day management. That's why we call it, we don't want to call it CRM because we call it AI-based, AI-powered advisor digital office. But what we're really doing is digital office from A to Z digital office. So we moving into the different space. So what I am really thinking is giving the peace of mind and not only saving time, but also actually making them money, protecting the business. So that's all in one solution. That's what everybody keeps saying, that our clients saying is all in one solution and easy to use, so much time saving. That's exactly, I want to echo that back to the people because that's exactly what we want to do. I think we want to be the simplest thing as much as we can. We want to automate as much as we can. Yeah. And we want to make their life easy as much as we can. That's the whole bottom line what we're looking at.
Fantastic. So where do we find you online if I want to learn more about Bluemind? What's the best way to find you?
I think if you Google it, Bluemind.app, or you put in the URL Bluemind.app, you will find it. Bluemind Advisor Digital Office, you can Google it, but Bluemind.app is easy. Bluemind.app app. So it's easy. You can find me, or you can look at my LinkedIn, Akil Balachandran. You can put Bluemind and I will show up, I believe. So then, yeah, you can find me through that as well. Yeah, happy to help the ecosystem, help more people. I think we have a huge responsibility. Our job, either PNC or the life and health insurance or the wealth management, we have a huge responsibility that the client trusts us to do things. I think we need to have the right tools in order to manage their expectation of the trust. I think we need to win it. I think not like a Bluemind itself. There's so many other tools going to be coming in the market. Definitely. I think we want to embrace the change, and we need to be going towards focusing on helping the clients. Let's get us moving right in the right direction.
I love it. And, from someone who started in the medical field, went through finance and then tech, and, now taking, a client irritant from an advisor standpoint, a 2-hour process, shorting it down to 20 minutes, really focusing on, like you said, an A to Z solution. I love the digital office piece that you're bringing to the marketplace. I look forward to talking to you, sitting down with you in 6 to 12 months to hear about the next phase of Bluemind, and all the great things
absolutely
in the industry. So thanks for sitting down with me today, Akil. It was a pleasure. Really enjoyed speaking with you and learning from you today.
It's my pleasure to have coming in the platform, and thank you again. I followed you on the LinkedIn. You're doing a great job and focusing on the insurtech space, which is extremely important space, as I mentioned. Thank you for doing that and creating wonderful name. And as I mentioned, creating nice mic, find that nice mic, which matching with the color.
It's a Canadian colors.
You're doing an amazing job. Yeah, so you're doing an amazing job. Thank you for doing that for the ecosystem. As I mentioned, this is an extremely important industry. We are in the critical time, and you're going to be the icon as well, changing the space for a lot of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Akil. It's all about being patriots, and it's all about bringing the industry forward, right? So we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thanks again. Have a great evening, and may the 4th be with you.
You too.